Markets rarely collapse overnight. They erode slowly. When prices are distorted, information is hidden, and incentives reward the wrong behavior. Today, we assume that stable markets require complex laws, centralized authorities, and regular surveillance. Yet for centuries, large marketplaces operated across continents without modern enforcement, without instant communication, and without financial guarantees. So how did order emerge in a world where cheating was possible, but stability still prevailed? Medieval markets were not unregulated free-for-alls. They were structured environments, shaped by custom, accountability, and shared expectations. Merchants did not operate anonymously. Deals were repeated. Behavior was observed. Outcomes mattered over time. Economic activity was embedded in social reality rather than isolated transactions. This structure discouraged manipulation not through fear, but through consequence. Dishonesty carried long-term costs. A trader who misrepresented goods, altered measurements, or broke agreements did not face dramatic punishment. Instead, opportunities quietly disappeared. Partners became cautious. Buyers hesitated. Routes closed. Access narrowed. Markets responded organically by reallocating opportunities toward consistent actors. Oversight existed, but it was limited and targeted. Market inspectors ensured transparency, checking measures, observing conduct, and intervening only when practices distorted fair exchange. Prices were not dictated. Competition was not suppressed. The goal was not control, but clarity. This created predictability without rigidity. Ethical conduct in medieval markets was not treated as a private matter of belief. It was embedded into law, oversight, and public accountability. While moral principles were rooted in religious teachings, their enforcement was practical, visible, and institutional. Market inspectors did not ask merchants about intentions or faith. They examined weights, contracts, measurements, and conduct. Written agreements carried legal force. Witnesses mattered. Repeated behavior mattered even more. This transformed ethics from abstract ideals into enforceable norms. Fair dealing was not encouraged through sermons alone, but through predictable consequences. Merchants understood that misconduct would not bring dramatic punishment, but it would bring restriction, exclusion, and loss of access. In this way, ethical standards functioned as a system of law and order. They reduced conflict, limited disputes, and stabilized markets. Compliance was not driven by fear of authority alone, but by awareness that economic participation depended on consistent behavior. Ethics, therefore, were not separate from commerce. They were the rules that made large-scale exchange possible in the first place. Economic incentives favored careful decision-making. Investors evaluated ventures thoughtfully. Merchants acted cautiously with goods, partners, and promises. Because outcomes were shared, reckless behavior carried consequences for all involved. This discouraged speculation disconnected from real activity. Trade routes stretched across deserts and oceans. Outcomes were delayed. Information traveled slowly. Under these conditions, systems based on guaranteed returns would have collapsed. Instead, shared outcomes and flexible arrangements allowed trade to continue despite uncertainty. Loss was possible, but collapse was not inevitable. Over time, markets adjusted themselves. Reliable actors accumulated influence. Inconsistent behavior reduced access. No central authority planned this outcome. It emerged from repeated interaction. Order arose not from force, but from structure. These markets grew steadily rather than explosively. They absorbed shocks without systemic collapse. Economic activity remained connected to real production, agriculture, crafts, logistics, and trade. Stability was not accidental. It was designed into behavior. Modern systems face familiar problems at greater scale. Information spreads faster, but incentives remain human. History does not provide templates. It provides perspective. Markets function best when systems reward consistency and discourage distortion. If you value thoughtful history that explains how trade and economic systems shaped civilizations, consider liking this video and subscribing to History Showcase. Markets survive not because rules are perfect, but because behavior is shaped over time. History does not end. It waits to be understood.